What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of the Underrated and Overlooked podcast. I'm Najee Wilkins with Craig Sager here. We got a lot to talk about today. NFL free agency is going on. We're going to react to all the biggest news in the football world. We got some college football news we're going to react to, and also the latest coaching changes and the latest on the high school level. So, Craig, first and foremost, how you feeling today, man?
Feeling good. And I think with the coaches and free agencies, lots of upgrades going on.
Definitely is all across the realm. So we'll go ahead and get started. Some major coaching changes in GHSA. I mean, still some opening spots. I'll just name a few, Craig, and you name the ones as well. Arabia Mountain still open. Cedar Grove, Hancock Central, Heritage Conyers, Josie, Lanier County, Manchester. What's the other ones you've been seeing, Craig?
Stars Mill, I think that's the one that I'm waiting for. Just a great school across the board. But then last week, there were some that I think happened on the day of our show. Thomas Clark, Stockbridge's coach, he went to Jackson High School. I think that's a very interesting move because they came very close. He's a long time assistant before he became head coach. And then Kevin Whitley used to be Stockbridge's coach, went to Georgia Southern. He's back in Georgia trying to get him on the show. And then the Macon County news, I think that was Kurt Russell. He's been at Lanier County, and then he used to coach at Macon County, and now he's back there. Macon County is a very solid program, and that's a very underrated area. Who borders Macon County? Sly County, Houston County, Peach County. So there's a lot of talent there. He's going to be their head coach and athletic director. And I think him returning there after being a DC at Brunswick, I think he's going to be a good benefit.
No doubt about it. I think that's going to be a interesting one. We'll talk about that a little bit more in depth. I think the South Cobb Open is also really intriguing, and I think Westlake is probably one of the more that's available. That in Cedar Grove and Arabian Mountain are one of the most sought after ones. Just Westlake, especially with what their program has, is from a talent perspective, the talent they have at the running back, the receiver positions, on defensive back as well. We know what they can produce, so I think that job is going to be really intriguing to kind of monitor and watch and see who they eventually hire. But coach is coming in a pretty good situation. Be interesting how he feels out his staff. But Westlake is the one that I got my eyes kind of around and kind of circled on.
For sure. Enrico Zachary was only there for 2 seasons, did a great job. Wesleyan, I thought they were a team that could have been a dark horse, ended up losing a couple close games. I had to be in that Carrollton region also, so that wasn't easy. But so the Westlake job, that's huge. But who was the coach at Westlake before Zachary? It was Brian Love, and I think he's done a phenomenal job at Wheeler. We know them as a basketball school, but you've talked about Josiah Allen, their running back. He's heading into a senior season. If you look at what's going on at Wheeler, they've got a lot of prospects. Their quarterback just picked up some huge offers.
He just committed to Northwestern.
That's right. Yep. And so I think just looking at the coaching pipeline from Westlake, whoever's coming into that, they're taking over a very talent-rich program, one of the powerhouses in Fulton County. So that's definitely one to watch for. But yeah, the Stockbridge, that's another interesting one. So I think with Westlake, Stockbridge, and Stars Mill is probably the top of the radar right now, and Cedar Grove, obviously.
No doubt about it. And then do you think for those programs, real quick, do you think they should stay in state, do an in state hire, or do you think they should go kind of out of state what Camden County did?
I think all of them, with the exception of Cedar Grove. I just think with Cedar Grove, they have been such a tight knit program within DeKalb County. They would hire coaches that have played within DeKalb, coached by legends like Buck Godfrey. So I think they would benefit from staying in house. But I think another program like Westlake or the Stockbridge, I think they could take an outsider and try to build off that. But I think Cedar Grove, they have such a just unique brand and style about doing things. I think they don't need to change things up too much.
100% agree with you on that, Craig. And we were just talking about it. You mentioned it, but as you mentioned, Macon County got their new head coach, which is Kirk Williams. He's actually going to be the athletic director as well, in addition to being a head coach. A lot of experience, as you mentioned, 14 years plus, earned conference and region titles, coached 6 seasons at Lanier County High School, DC at Brunswick before that. And then he's also earned Southeast Georgia FCA Coach of the Year and Parker Resources Coach of the Year as well.
Yep, and Macon County is coming off a 10-3 season with Dexter Copeland. He's been there before, and then I think it's just his defensive prowess that's going to be huge. to come in, be a defensive minded team. I was trying to find Macon County's schedule. Let's see, last year some of the bigger games because they got bumped down to Class A Division 2, but they were in the same region as Sly County, same region as Manchester. Those are their only two losses before the quarterfinals. So I think Macon County's right on the verge of breaking through. And then, I mean, as I said, just a lot of good athletes in that middle Georgia area. I think will be exciting. A lot has changed since the last time he was at Macon County. There is a lot going on there. It's a small school, but it's where they filmed The Walking Dead, The Hunger Games. So it's an interesting little place.
No doubt about it. And then I don't think all schools have came out with their schedule yet, but I did want to get your reaction to this real quick, Craig. We're talking about the new awards, but we'll share the screen with you guys as well. But Milton football, they sent it to me via Instagram directly. Want to get your thoughts on their spring schedule. I think the matchup they have too is very entertaining. But let's pull it up. So that's kind of how it looks. They'll start May 1st. It will be their first practice all the way through the week. And then they'll practice Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, May 9th, and then back again Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Thursday, and they had a game. But they're going to match up against Peachtree Ridge in the spring game. What is your quick reaction to that? I think that is a very intriguing spring game for both.
Well, obviously, Milton is going to return a ton of talent. Luke Nickel at quarterback, I think, has a chance to emerge as the top quarterback in the state. Obviously, Juju's going to have something to say about that. They won't be in the same classification, but Milton, they haven't lost a region game since 2017. They know they can get better throughout the season. They always come out strong, but I think spring for them, it's going to be about building that offensive line, getting that run game, finding out who your running backs are going to be. That's something that took them a lot of games into the season to develop last year. But I think in terms of the quarterback, all the weapons they have in the passing game, that's going to be there. They have the skill guys. They were super young all over that defense last year. But I think just the running back, that'll be a key position to really balance them out and make them probably the undeniable favorite in Class 5A.
No doubt. And then what do you think about the matchup against Peachtree Ridge?
Oh, it's huge. It's going to be, I mean, Darnell Kelly heading into his junior season, all those athletic
Dorian Barney.
yeah, guys in that secondary for Peachtree Ridge.
Yep.
I think it's
Thomas.
a very different a good contrast because Milton didn't necessarily overachieve last year. They just peaked at the right time, got it done, silenced a lot of doubters, took 7A with a really difficult playoff run, beating Grayson, Colquitt, then Walton. But I think with Peachtree Ridge, they experienced such an exciting season. They took a share of the region title. I think they are going to have a lot of motivation, and I think this benefits Peachtree Ridge a lot more than Milton. I mean, it's a good matchup for Milton, but I think putting Milton on the spring schedule, that's going to really sharpen the focus for the Lions.
No doubt about it. I think it's going to be an intriguing game. I like both. Two really solid quarterbacks here in our state. And like you said, I think it's going to be a good sharp as iron for both programs. And Kelly coming in with his weapons, Rob Thomas, some of those receivers they got, some of those good running backs, and then an elite secondary. And the secondary is going to get tested, right? CJ Wiley is coming back for another year. Milton got some really good pieces at the receiving corps. I mean, I think it's going to be really intriguing, kind of the one-on-one matchups with some of the top players in the country.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking about the depth in that game. I mean, man, Milton, they started Pancake Hunter on the defensive line. He's heading into his sophomore season after earning a starting role as a freshman. So I think the first half will be really exciting, but I think just looking at some of the young guys for both these teams, I think it's going to be good for all four quarters because there's an opportunity for those guys to earn significant playing time this season.
No doubt about it. Can't wait. I did want to show you with that. Just other ones out there, but just what is your reaction? I mean, they're coming off a 7A title. They'll be in 5A this year with a really intriguing region with Gainesville in there and Roswell. But I thought that's going to be great. Can't wait for that matchup between those two in the spring game. But you actually reacted on your show, Craig. But I wanted us to react together over our big news. A new Mr. and Miss Georgia Football Award is official now. First time in the 128-year history. There's never been a Mr. and a Mrs. Georgia football. So set for December 14th, guys. The venue will be announced at a later date. And it's going to combine with Georgia Athletic Coaches Association to hand out these awards: 8 state championship awards for football, 4 for the girls. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I think the Miss Georgia and Mr. Georgia, that's going to be a big deal. Obviously, it's going to be historic just to see the names that win it year after year. But it's more than just those two award shows or individual awards. It's going to be a lot of season accolades, honoring the state champions, having the first teams, the all classification teams. But I think it's a big opportunity. I think flag football is exploding also, so that's going to be a great honor just to view them equally. And I think it incentivizes some of the players that are in that player of the year category to really finish the season strong and get an individual honor that hasn't existed before.
No doubt about it. I think it's good because it puts everybody on the big stage. Kind of reminds me a little bit of the ESPYS a little bit, just like the top tier awards. Hopefully they'll combine with Huddle a little bit. I think that'd be kind of cool to kind of have like a play of the year, in
Mhm.
Georgia football, kind of put that out there, award somebody for play of the year. Offensive, obviously, defensive player of the year will be some good honors as well. But I think it's a great thing. I mean, you put in these kids on this big stage and you allow them to have that big platform and then being able to stream it, live stream it as well on the platforms. I mean, I think it's going to be great. And then it's right after the state championship. So, obviously you get rewarded, but we've seen it at the state championships. The time is so short, it doesn't feel like the kids really get awarded because it's like they only get like 1 to 2 minutes, quick interview, boom, that's it. Like
Yep.
this one actually kind of culminates everything together, and you actually get to get celebrated on one big night in a nice venue, dress up. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, Rusty always talks about it. He says like it's beneficial to be playing the state championships at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, but he said some of the best memories were when you would host a state championship at your own field and then get to celebrate afterwards with all the family and stuff. Where at Mercedes-Benz or the last couple of years, you got to get off the field fast,
Yes, you do.
and uh, this will be good because right after the season ends, I just think, man, there's going to be so many guys that throughout the season will be in that conversation. Who's going to get it? There's going to be a lot of feedback, and it'll be a tough decision for sure.
No doubt, it definitely will be, and I'm excited. I think it's gonna bring even more excitement to the season. We already got the high end excitement for college football. It's gonna bring even more for college. I mean,
Yeah,
high school football
exactly.
as
And it
well.
will be something that you'll see it. I mean, when you go to their college bios years later, it will say they were Mr. Georgia football, and I think winning the first one, that's going to be really special.
No doubt, you can always forever have that accolade.
Yep,
Yeah,
the
so
first ever. So that'll
yeah,
be really exciting. I'm looking forward to it.
no doubt about it. Well, I'll throw it to you, Craig, before we wrap up high school segment. Any big major news that you've seen across the way? Excuse me, throughout the high school football circuit.
On the high school football side, uh, not really. The coaching changes, that's a big one to me. We haven't really seen any transfers. I know you've had your ear to the ground with some of these potential quarterback moves, but until we see that, um, probably right before spring. But so far, we haven't seen too much movement.
We've not. I will tell you, I'm not going to reveal the name. Don't want to burn my source, but keep an eye on very special, I say two special Cedar Grove receivers.
Okay.
Hearing some buzz. I'm not going to say any names, but just with the whole move and everything, just keep your eyes peeled to that. Probably something will be coming out.
Oh
That
yeah,
too in the far
no, it's
future.
gonna happen.
Yeah, so
It's definitely gonna happen.
keep
And
your eyes
then
on that.
obviously things really pick up in June and the summer months with all these recruiting visits. But this seems to be the time for the NFL free agency more
Yes.
so than the high school player moves.
No doubt about it. But we'll have you guys locked here if we see any big news, and we'll break them here on the show. Or if Craig sees it, he'll break it on his platform, and I'll break it on mine when I have a show. So that's what we got for right now. Nothing really big in the high school realm, but we'll keep you guys very, very updated. But I wanted to talk a little bit about Clemson. They just hosted one of their biggest weekends for recruits. I mean, they had so many studs there, in state, out of state. Just a few that stand out to me: Micah Matthews, Dalen Upshaw. He plays at Central in Phoenix, Alabama. The kid's a stud. Got to see him earlier this year. David Sanders Jr. is a 5-star. Just narrowed down some of his top schools list. Isaiah Gibson's another stud. They're very high in on him. I know he's high on them as well. Christian Garrett, who was Prince Avenue Christian. Then you got Tay Harris, Cedar Town. He's continued to pick up offers. I think he recently just got an Alabama offer. Caleb Lanier is another person that is continuing to blow up. Brody McWhorter, I think that was big as well for him because you know how high we are on him. Nayland Scott of Kennesaw Mountain was another big one. Bryce Perry Wright of the 26th class, you know how good he is. Dorian Barney from Peachtree Ridge. Samari Smoke Matthews out of North Carolina. Zealous Hicks. And then the first freshman, only freshman I've seen, Craig. Could be for his brother, but Max Brown.
Yeah, I think Max Brown might follow in the footsteps of his brother, but still has a lot of time to go. A lot. He was only a freshman this last year, but he's really stepping up. And you look at what he did in the Georgia League Classic, then I think he was in the Florida Georgia All Star Game, back to back MVP level performances. I mean, he's ready to take over at Jefferson. But I don't know. I think Clemson, they have a unique opportunity in the ACC right now. All the talks about SEC, Big 12, what they're trying to do, but Clemson, they're in a position. Can they take a leadership role in the ACC? Can they get back into the hunt? There's people that are critical of Dabo and the way Clemson does things. They feel like they're still living in the old college football model. They aren't hitting the transfer portal enough. Um, they aren't being aggressive. They haven't really adapted the NIL model like they should.
Right.
But I think having the visits like that, getting kids there, I think it's still a special place to play.
Yes, it is. I mean, it's hard to really replicate Death Valley. I mean, there's obviously some really name brand ones. Florida's always up there, Auburn's up there, Bama, but I feel like Clemson is his own unique kind of just place, and having these guys on campus is big for you. And obviously, I think they're trending in the right direction. But I got a hot take. I brought it up in a group chat. I want to get your thoughts on it. So, Clemson plays Georgia in the Mercedes Benz first game of the season. I had a friend say, and we're gonna talk about Georgia in a second, but he said he thought Georgia is rebuilding. I don't think so, and he thought Clemson would win that game big. What is your thoughts on that? It's a bold take.
Yeah, I was talking to a buddy that played, I think he was at Duke, he played, and then ended up graduating from Alabama. So he's a huge football nut, but he's very critical of Clemson, and he thinks that they're going to get left behind.
Mm.
He's a huge Nick Saban fan, big Alabama fan. He was talking about, he compared Coach Saban to Coach K at Duke, where he had all this talent on his roster later on, but maybe stayed a little too long before he finally retired, and they didn't get it done because coaching, it's not just about being a good coach. It takes a lot of energy. It is 24/7. I don't know how they manage all the phone calls, everything going on. And with Clemson, he said that he felt like they were going to get destroyed by Georgia in that game. So I think some people see this as a game where Clemson is going to come out and get walloped, but they'll have a lot of new pieces. It's a tough matchup for sure. I don't know if they're going to come out and win. It seems like it took them a few weeks to get
going.
Yeah, get going last year.
Well, no, I mean, I think that would be the statement of the year if they're able to do that in week one. Because Georgia does have a tough schedule coming out after them. Still has Auburn in there, Bama, Tennessee Tech, Kentucky, or some of their games after that. But yeah, I don't think Georgia's in a rebuild. I think they're just reloading. And I think for Clemson, you got to see. Some people think Clay Klubnik is the top quarterback in the ACC. Remains to be seen. I'll get that nod to Haynes King in my opinion. But yeah, I think Clemson's in the right direction. But like you said, they just gotta kind of modernize a little bit, right? Get some guys in the transfer portal. You don't need a bunch. I mean, you can pull what Alabama did, or Georgia. Georgia hasn't been crazy in the portal, but they've been adding 3-4 guys. It's guys they need at the position group. And I think that's what Clemson has to do. But they got the atmosphere, they got the crazy fan base. They got all the things they need to be successful.
Yeah, but I mean, playing at the Benz against Georgia, that's going to be tough, and we'll see. I think with Georgia, though, I mean, is it a rebuild? Definitely not. So. But I mean, they have some new coaches added to the staff, but none of them are coordinators. So I feel like they're just going to have maybe some new wrinkles in the offense.
Yep.
Some new players obviously having to step up. No Brock, but I don't know. I think Georgia will be a heavy favorite in that. And I just haven't seen Clemson come out and be in mid-season form like that. That's going to be very tough.
No doubt about it.
Georgia's going to come out really motivated.
No doubt. And speaking of Georgia, they are actually going to begin spring practice today. Press conference with Kirby Smart was held a little bit earlier. So, as we reacted, I want to get your reaction. Georgia, Pierce Spurlin, formerly of Walton, and then went down and played at Florida as well. He's medically retiring due to a congenital heart disease or heart issue. So he's retiring. What's your reaction to that?
Yeah, that was shocking news. Uh, Georgia's still rock solid at the tight end spot. Oscar Delp's going to play a huge role. Got Lawson Lucky, got a bunch of other guys, but that's a tough break. And I saw him play. He's legit 6'7". He can go up and get it. He used to be a receiver. Was really going to become a dangerous downfield target. Probably wasn't known best for his blocking, but man, he could dominate those jump balls. He played in our Georgia League Classic, had 2 touchdowns in that game. And so that's tough for him. Obviously, Coach Smart thinks it is the right call medically. They're still going to honor his scholarship, so he'll stay in Athens. Maybe we'll have a different role with the team. But yeah, his career is going to come to an end. He was a great player. I mean, got it done at both stops in high school. Was number 68 player, I think, in the country. And yeah, that's tough news today.
Yes, that is tough news. Very smart kid from what I've heard and read about him a little bit. So I'm sure he's gonna be successful in whatever he does. It is tough news, but I know he's gonna come back from it stronger and better. So praying for you, man, and hoping it all works out for you, Pierce. But yeah, speaking of Georgia, what is your biggest storylines, I guess, headed into spring practice, Craig? What are some things that you want to kind of see from the Georgia program that you kind of got your eyes on, you kind of circled and things like that you have questions about?
Well, mention the tight end role. I mean, that's such a huge part of the offense. It's gonna be. I mean, we see it with the Kansas City Chiefs. We saw it with Hecklinski last year. That's the security blanket in this offense. Um, when you're playing a tough game and you're trying to get the whole thing rolling, you need that tight end to really open it up. So, who's going to step up? Big shoes to fill. And then I think the run game has been historically successful at Georgia, but they've got the quarterback. I just think if they can complement it, you were showing me Ohio State's backfield.
Lord.
If they
Sorry,
can
Lord.
get some of these new pieces going, I think that would be a big storyline. But I think this spring is going to be exciting. Georgia, yeah, they didn't win it all last year, but still a successful season. They came very close. They lost a ton the year before defensively. They're bringing in their new quarterback for the first time. I think they're going to be just fine this spring. And I think having new position coaches does help. Just getting to know them for the first time during spring, I think they'll be beneficial. And they made it through February. That's the worst part of the off season.
No doubt about it. I think for me, same thing. I kind of want to see how the running back room is going to look. I think the addition of a Trevor Etienne definitely does wonders for you. They've always had great running backs, Kendall Milton, DeJohn Edwards last year. Now you have Trevor Etienne, who's going to kind of fill out, kind of behind him. They got some really good guys in the 24 class as well. So I kind of want to see how that pans out for him. But that's one of my biggest storylines. And then, I want to see what receivers looks like for them. How do they look at receiver? They're going to have some guys coming back, obviously, but going to be new. Brought in Landon Humphreys from Vanderbilt, brought in the guy from Miami. Will it be a one league guy? Will it be a Jack Mary Rose Saint or Rah Rah? Will it be one of those guys, or will it be kind of be a platoon? Will it be a bunch contributing to it? I think that's kind of the biggest question I have for them. How it looks next season, and then I just want to see what Carson Beck's growth is going to be. Right, he's not going to have those veterans. Right, it's going to look a little different, like you said, new position coaches. With new players, right? It's gonna, take a little bit of working out too. They do have pedigrees, don't get me wrong, but it's gonna look a little different. But what's gonna be his growth from last year to this year? He's already a Heisman kind of favorite going into next season. What will his growth be with the new room? No Lad McConkey, no Brock Bowers, but you're gonna have new guys coming in. You're gonna have Oscar Delp, who came on last season, a Lawson Lucky with a bigger role. I can't wait to see kind of his growth and what he's able to do. And the last one is defensive line. Can they get more pressure? Can they get a little bit better at the interior defensive line? How would that position group look? Add a couple guys from transfer portal, got some guys coming in. How would that position kind of look? Secondary, I feel like is the best part of this team, in my opinion, my humble opinion. And I'll go quarterback. So I think secondary they're going to be fine. But that's my biggest question at the defensive line position and then kind of linebacker as well.
I completely agree. The secondary, without question, especially the safety spot, that is the strength.
Yeah, no doubt.
Defensively, yeah, they do need some more disruption up front.
Yes.
And then, I don't know, with Carson Beck, I mean, he did fine last season.
He
Didn't
did.
really have an off game. Didn't do anything to hurt the team. But, I mean, what else can you see from him? More aggressive throws, maybe? But I feel like that's
That's a
the
good
coach.
question.
It's
Okay.
more of like the coaching. A lot of people say that they didn't really have a game where they put the ball in his hands, but they
Right.
also didn't need to. So
That's my question.
yeah,
When they get the games in his hands, which he showed flashes, what does that kind of look like? Can he? My question for you, Craig, is, I mean, you talking? Can he be the guy? He's already shown he's the guy. I'm saying on that big platform when Georgia's playing a Clemson, can he go in there and whoop them and make a statement week one? Right when they play against Alabama on the road, will he make that statement there? Those are some of my questions I have. I think he's great. I don't think there's no problem with Carson Beck. That's not what I'm saying. I just want to see him in those moments on those big platforms, what he looks like.
yeah, and I'll give him credit because I mean Georgia had injuries and a
Yes.
lot of rotation at the receiver spot, so that wasn't something that um, would have gone to benefit him. I think year two though, I mean he's definitely going to take a step forward, but I want to see him come out and have like that 300-yard game, the
No, we're
three
talking
touchdown performance, and then that will really get him going.
solidify.
And Georgia needs to do that once uh, to really get the defenses off guard. Don't just come out and say we can rely on the run game. We can establish our will. No, show them you are a complete offense. They can light you up if they want to, and then it will get these receivers going that um, haven't really had those primary targets in the last few seasons. They've had Ladd, they've had some other guys, but no, they need to get the whole picture going. And then we're going to see some freshmen, I think, step up in the spring also. Don't be afraid to play the freshmen.
There you go. See, Craig answered my question. You know that's what I want to see from Georgia. I mean, I already think they're going to be a national contender, but that was kind of my biggest question going into camp. How does that all look? And we'll have the answers for you on the show. Obviously, we'll talk about follow Georgia Tech, Georgia throughout the whole summer, and going into next year as well. And then we might throw in Georgia State in there too. I like what Del McGee can kind of be for that program and what he represents. And they got some top end coaches coming in now. Obviously, we talked about Cedar Grove's former head coach, uh, Coach Adams, going there now, being a defensive analyst. So Georgia Tech is going to be an interesting team to follow as well. We'll keep you guys obviously updated with that. But I got to give you guys an update on Georgia Tech. They just started their practice, had the first practice yesterday. A very interesting group. Again, very deep. Returning a lot of their starters, 17 starters from last season. A lot of all ACC players. Defensive lineman Zeke Biggers, offensive lineman Joe Fusel, running back Jamal Haynes King at the quarterback, Eric Singleton Jr., and then Jordan Williams. So far, really good practice day one. Pretty healthy overall, no major injuries. They had a couple guys, one tore ACL, one got injured in the opener against Louisville, but all those guys are good. They're taking it pace by pace, but looked very good in the early on practice for Georgia Tech and looking pretty good so far.
Yeah, what's the biggest? And we talk about Georgia, it's going to be the receivers, young guys stepping up. What do you think, Georgia Tech? There's a lot more um, consistency year two with Haynes King, but
Yeah.
what position group do you think is really going to be the focus to get going?
My position group, I got to throw out there. I'm gonna say linebacker and secondary. Secondary was pretty decent last season, but they're gonna have new pieces coming in. A couple guys graduated. They got a guy from Tennessee that's coming over now, and then they got a guy from Rhode Island who was really good in the winning, I think, defensive player for his conference. So I want to see how that all looks. But they were not good last year in defensively. Correct. They gave up the most explosive plays of any team in the ACC. So they got to get that resolved. And then linebacker, when you get in those holes and you're going against those elite players like coming in to Trevor Etienne or a Phil Maffa potentially. Those type of guys you got to be able to tackle in the hole. That's where they struggled at. So I want to see how does that look for them defensively next year. If they can get that shored up, they don't need a top 25 or even top 30 defense. They get a top 50 defense. I think that goes wonders for them because offensively, man, I mean, they loaded, bringing back a lot of starters. And then the biggest thing is back to what we said about Beck, just the consistency for King. Had some really great games last year, and then he had a couple where, was not good. The turnover late in game against Clemson, right? That was the reason why they lost on the road. So just need to see a little more consistency from him, but I think he's the best quarterback in the ACC. So
Yeah, I think he earned a lot of respect from his teammates heading into this year, coming in, knowing what the mission was, getting Georgia Tech back in the conversation. And I think last year, the way Tech opened the season, they came so close to beating Louisville. It would have been that statement. They ended up making it a couple weeks later, but any game they won, whereas that close game, it was the offense that willed them. I think you're right about the defense.
yes,
They've got to be able to close games, come
you
up with
have
a big
to.
play.
Yeah, you got to. I mean, your offense is producing 25 plus points. You got to be able to get a stop defensively, help them out. They shouldn't have to go 35, 40, 45, 50 points to win a game. So that's the part they're going to have to get better at. But it looks good for them. I mean, obviously, tough schedule going to open the season with Florida State and Ireland, but you got to like how the direction the team's going and like what the coach was saying about the program. And I think they're off to another good start. So I'll have it locked for all the coverage for them and the latest going on, but it's trending the right way.
Yep. And when we saw Haynes King at our Corky Kale 7-on-7, we watched him practice. I'm telling you, he was the best conditioned guy on the team. He won every single sprint. And then you saw what he was able to do with his legs throughout the season. I think this year doesn't need to be taking a lot of contact, make the smart decisions, but you're 100% right. What he was able to do that first year, just the excitement, the leadership, I think he's going to have a really good offseason getting his team ready, and he's got a future maybe beyond college. So I think it's about getting his teammates in the film room, getting on the same page, and I think you're right. He's going to have a special season.
No doubt. And guess who gets to learn from him?
Aaron Philo.
I mean, so that's getting it done. I mean, not just the number one passer ever in the state of Georgia. Just broke Trevor Lawrence's record. So, I mean, that's not a bad way to learn from somebody from the next coming up. I know obviously they got other guys in the QB room. Lost Zach Gibson, who's at Georgia State. But, I mean, you got Philo right waiting in the wings after he's probably done. And like you said, if King has one dominant year, I mean, he already had a good year last year. If he builds on that, it's in that potentially Heisman conversation, even top quarterback conversation. He could potentially move on and play in the league.
I think he will. And you guys want to look up some stats. Obviously, Aaron Philo put him up, but look at Haynes King when he was slinging it in Texas in high school. His numbers were ridiculous. He's a true winner. He's always been super athletic with his legs. And yeah, I really think that he's settled into Georgia Tech. People didn't know what to expect heading into last season, but he earned it. And yeah, I think he gives them a shot every single game this upcoming season.
No doubt about it. And before we conclude, I want to ask you about Ohio State. I was trying to find a video. I couldn't find it. If you do see it, Craig, like let me know. I was trying to find like just a video of them. Maybe I'll try to find it for y'all real quick. I don't know what I did with it.
I think they said there it is. Oh, no, it was something about leading the country or leading the nation.
Uh-oh, what happened? Dang it. Let me see if I have it on one of the other ones. No Twitter's there. No Twitter's there. Wish I could have found it for y'all. Yeah, unfortunately, I cannot find it, y'all. But Craig, I think Craig's gonna look it up. If he finds it, we'll show you guys. But essentially, man, the boys look jacked. Okay, you had him, Trayvon Henderson, and then you had Quishon Judkins, and I mean the way they look, man. When you got two bell cows like that, you're not gonna get tired. You can probably do between 12 to 15 carries between both of them. That's about 30 carries on the ground. And the quarterback, I know they got to think is Will Howard. They got obviously Prentice Aaron Nolan, Ryan Poluski. So I still have the QB. I think that's the biggest question mark for them going into spring practice. Is it going to be Will Howard's job to lose, or will one of the freshmen come in and make a statement? I think that's the biggest thing for them. But this is a team that should be in national championship conversation. Anything short of that, I think it's a disappointing season. They got too much talent all over the field. Receiver, Emeka Buka, Jeremiah Smith, who's going to probably get a lot of playing time. Defensively, secondary, with Caleb Downs, their linebacking core is elite. Running backs are elite. I mean, they checking off every box. So to me, if Ohio State's not a national contender, yeah, they're doing something wrong. So I think this is the season, unfortunately, for Ryan Day. Like, his job's probably on the line. But if they get that national championship and they win it, I think he'll be safe, good to go.
This guy has it. Well, it's not the same, but it's
That's about good enough.
Yeah.
Let me see. What's the Twitter handle? I'll pull it up, show you guys.
I know things 19. It says natty or bust.
Honestly.
There it is. Go up. Yep.
All right. So as you guys can see, what you guys see in the video, but you get the clear picture. I mean, that's their guys. That's Trayvon Henderson, senior, coming in. Quishon Jenkins. I mean, you guys can see the stature, what these guys look like. This is going to be their running back. So, like I said, to me, there's really no excuse. I mean, you got that at the out of the backfield. Enough said.
Yeah, don't get fancy.
Yeah, like literally, like if your quarterback's struggling, like don't hand the ball off.
Yep, we've seen it. I mean, that is such a crucial position to have depth in down the stretch, and really being able to pull away late in games. And yeah, they've got a trio back there. That is a nightmare to try to stop for an entire game.
No doubt about it. Good luck to you. We wish you good luck. But that is Ohio State. Like we said, they should be national title contenders, but we want to show you guys that. Credit to I Know Things 19. He had the post originally. So,
yep. And hey, all they got to do is get in that playoff.
That's it. So, and now it's better. It's not just 4, it's 12. So you can lose a game or two and be good.
Yep. Eye on the prize. I think they're going to be in there.
No doubt about it. And then before we wrap up college and go to the NFL free agency frenzy, is there any major news you saw, Craig?
Nope, that's it.
That's it. All right. So we will keep it moving, guys, and go jump to NFL free agency. I mean, there's so many big moves. I think I seen something recently about who was it? I think I seen Calvin Ridley. I figured that made a lot of sense. Adam Schefter. Mm-hmm. Yeah, 18 cents. Thank you, Max, for that. I'm about to show you guys.
That just happened?
Just happened. Great call out by Max. All right, so these are a couple of the moves, guys. Obviously, we got more we're going to react to, but free agency, Derrick Henry signing a 2-year, $16 million deal worth up to $20 million, with $9 million fully guaranteed in the first year with the Baltimore Ravens. He will not play in the Queen City. Derrick Henry just makes so much sense for them, just with what they like to do, how they like to run the football, how Baltimore likes to be physically imposing on other teams. I mean, this seems like a match made in heaven to me. And I think it's a good deal. I mean, he got about $8 million annual salary, and then with probably incentives and everything, gets up to $20 million. So about $10 million a year. A little bit under what know Saquon and others got, but I think it's a good deal. What's your reaction?
Yeah, very smart move. And after the first day of free agency, just based off the market, I mean, people were like, who are the biggest, and I don't mean this a bad way, but the losers of day one, like in relation to the market, and it was Justin Fields and Derrick Henry, because other players in their same position have gotten huge offers, but then the demand wasn't there. But if he was going to go to any team, that is a great fit for him. Obviously, he's got a lot of mileage, but still,
Still look
he's still
good.
King Henry.
Yeah, have you seen his videos?
Yeah. And so maybe on this, they can manage it a little bit and use him as a closer.
That'd be a heck of a way to close the game too. Hey, good luck to you. Good luck to you. But that's one of the major moves. I thought this was major for us too. We wanted them last year. Obviously, we got more moves we'll talk about with the Bengals and the Chiefs, obviously. But former Patriots tight end Mike Gesicki signing a 1-year deal with up to $3.25 million with us. Actually played a lot of his time in the slot, so I think that's good for us. We needed a tight end, badly. Tanner Hudson did step up big. We just re-signed Drew Sample to a 3-year deal as well. He's more of a blocking tight end. They use him in pass protection coverages as well. But I like it. They needed a receiving type tight end, and I think if they can get a guy in the draft, a Sanat out of Kansas State, we'll see what happens. Obviously, we'll talk more about the C situation in a second. But if they can get another guy in the draft, I think that would bode well for us. Just to kind of go along with that room because it's only a 1-year deal. You do got Drew Sample back. We'll see what they do with Tanner Hudson. But if you get a rookie too, that's 4 tight ends. That's a pretty strong room in an area we were kind of not the best in last year. We could have used a lot more production from, but I think it's a great move.
For sure. And I think the key this season, it's like I want to see more teams do what the Chiefs do: pre-snap motions, confuse the defense, and you add another piece and come in, split out wide, and just run those check down routes, be sure-handed, and get open.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. So those are the recent ones from today. What else is out secret that you see in the free agency or even trade market?
Well, I thought a very big one, obviously, yesterday was Kirk Cousins going to Atlanta. I think it's an upgrade.
Think so?
Yes, I think it's an upgrade for the Falcons. They obviously got new coaching staff this upcoming season. It's a 4-year deal. That's very interesting, especially the last few seasons. Kind of been a 1 year situation. But I think with Kirk, I mean, he is a true competitor. He doesn't have a lot of playoff wins, but there's a reason why after that move, they updated the odds and the Falcons are the favorites in the NFC South now. That's not one person deciding they're the favorites. That's the collective consensus with this move. So as many people that might doubt it, he's just turned them into the favorites, and maybe they'll be worth 100 million guaranteed.
That's a lot of money, man. 100 million guaranteed. It's a crazy stat too that he's made over 411 million in his career. I think the 6th highest ever. So I mean, he's just done it smart. I mean, he's gotten that fully guaranteed deal from Minnesota, the 84 million, and he signed another deal with them and got 60 plus more million. Made his money in Washington, and then now he's coming here with 100 million guaranteed and 180. And I told everybody or people that were close to me, it was like, I don't know about Kirk Cousins in Atlanta, but I said it makes so much sense. His wife is from here, so he's on the back end of his career. He just tore his Achilles. His wife's family's all from here and in this area. And actually, I've seen him before over there in Roswell, over the old Alabama Road before to Craig in person. So to me, it just made sense, right? And then with the Falcons, a lot of people were like, well, why didn't it go with Justin Fields? He's also from Atlanta, went to Harrison High School here, and then went to Georgia before going to Ohio State ultimately. And I think what Atlanta wanted was that kind of reassurance, right? With Fields, does he have a higher ceiling? Sure. The only reason I say that is because he has more time to grow and to see what he's going to be. We still don't really know what he's going to turn out to be. We kind of know what Kirk Cousins is, right? You know he's going to give you about 4,000 plus yards, 4,500 yards plus passing, 30 plus touchdowns a year, maybe about 10 interceptions. We know what he's going to give you, right? So I think Atlanta wanted more of that kind of security, knowing that, hey, we don't got to worry about the spot. He's not going to play erratic. He's going to give us what he's going to give us. So I think that's why they went with this move. And then they get another 4 years to decide, okay, hey, probably if he decides to retire, probably at 40, which he probably will, go get another quarterback potentially in that kind of draft 4 years from now, which will be, 2028, I believe. So to me, it made sense from the reassurance perspective, but you'll have to reset the clock here in a couple of years anyway. But now that puts them straight in the form, like you said, Greg, into contention. I mean, if you go look at the NFC, there's not a lot of strong teams, right? They obviously got San Fran. We'll have to see what Philly does. We'll talk about their move in a second, what they just got. And then it's like everybody else. There's not a set team. And the Lions, too. I'll throw the Lions in there, too. There's not set teams. There's new teams every year. It's not like AFC, okay, Chiefs, Bills, Bengals when they're healthy, Ravens, You know what I'm saying? NFC's more wide open. So that puts them straight in the conversation.
Yeah, and obviously a lot of thought went into bringing him here. But if you're looking at the NFC South, obviously hasn't been the best, and you say, okay, how can we best position ourselves to win the division? Because that's really what matters to get and guarantee a playoff spot. You get a consistent quarterback that you know what you can expect from. Add some more pieces around him, shore up the other side of the ball. I think that's why it just makes sense. Kirk Cousins is solid. He's a professional, and I think he does can shore up that position.
Yeah.
Obviously for these 4 years.
That's it. And then you got all the talent, right? You got a Bijan Robinson, right? You got Drake London, you got a Kyle Pitts. Defensively, got all pro safety and Jesse Bates. Obviously, got to get your edge together. But now, to me, and they just signed Darnell Mooney as well. Correct, 3 years, $39 million deal. But now I think the question is, what do they do at number 8 overall? Because now you got your quarterback. You don't necessarily have to get one in the draft. Jaden Daniels looked interesting for the Falcons, maybe if they want to start over. But now, what did they decide to get? Max brought up a great point. He talked about them getting Dallas turning their edge, which I think will be great for them. That and cornerback too is kind of where they're lacking a little bit. But to me, they got all the weapons in the world.
Yeah, I think they're good defense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think going early at running back with Bijan, having these receivers, you got a new quarterback, so you want to see how that works out. Offensive line, believe it or not, Falcons will be rock solid with that.
Yes, they
That
will.
group has gotten it done in the run game. These last few seasons really come together. So I think adding a stud defensively, that'd be big.
No doubt about it. And then other news, you had Mac Jones getting traded to Jacksonville. The 2021 class for QBs looks crazy now. Only starter left looks like is Trevor Lawrence. And then got Jerry Jeudy got traded to the Browns. So what's your thoughts on that, Craig?
That's crazy. Yeah, and you brought up a good point. So the only quarterback, not only starting, but that got a contract extension from the rookie deal was Trevor Lawrence. So very interesting. We'll see what he does this upcoming season. Jacksonville seems to be moving a lot of pieces around, but yeah, what do you think about that? Two guys from the same class now.
On the same team.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I know a lot of media are saying that New England put him in a position to fail, and didn't allow him to kind of succeed. And I think it's interesting. I think I hate to say this, Craig, but some guys are just they cannot start out the gate. There's only a select few I feel like have that kind of that factor. T. Law is one of them. But even Mahomes, like he sat for what 1 to 2 years before he came in. You're seeing Jordan Love being able to excel and have success. He sat for 3-4 years under Aaron Rodgers. So I think the coach got to decide. Obviously, you want them to play, you want them to get the experience, but sometimes it's okay for them to sit for a couple years and then kind of let them learn behind some of the top end talent. Where'd he go? He sucked. Yeah, he sucked. It looks like Irv Smith went to the Chiefs, but yeah, Rick Lye, he didn't really do nothing for us, dropping passes. But yeah, I think it's just a matter of, and really what it comes down, you can attest to this, Craig. You got to be put in the right system, man. You got to be put in the right system, the right culture, the right GM, the right coach, the right situation to succeed. Felt like Trevor Lawrence had, not the best situation when he came in with Urban Meyer, but now he has a really good head coach in Doug Peterson. It faltered off last year, but they did win the championship, AFC South championship the year prior. But you got to be put in the right situation. Like for me, I know people, a lot of people don't feel this way, but I think Fields just has not been put in the right situation. I think if you get him a better offensive line, you get him a number one receiver, I think he can succeed. And I think a lot of these guys get put in bad situations where they're not set up for success.
Yeah. And then speaking of, I want to talk about Russell Wilson. How do you think he's going to do with the Steelers?
It's crazy. I've been seeing all kind of takes on that. I've been seeing they're title contenders now. I've been seeing they're going to want to run away with the AFC North. Some crazy takes on that. I think it's the same thing with Atlanta. I think they needed a quarterback. That their defense is carrying them. You know what I'm saying? Like their defense is the reason why they made the playoffs with 10-win season. Pickett had 6 offensive touchdowns all last year. You cannot win like that. I mean, your defense, we live in a different era now. You need them to carry. So, 2 things on Wilson. This is a situation for him where if he does not have success, if he don't win his starting job, his career is probably done. That's just the full of it. And the other part for the Steelers is that there's just a low risk move, right? Because you still got Pickett, and they're doing it the smart way, I think. Let Pickett battle for the job. If he loses, let him learn from a veteran, for a couple of years, decide if you want to take that 5th year option or not, if you want to keep Russell Wilson. Let's see what happens. And you can let him learn, and then maybe he'll be ready in a couple of years for that job, you know? And I think it's smart. It's low risk. Denver's paying his contract $38 million. You're only paying 1.3 million. And then you get to bring him in, a guy that's, proven and showed he's able to do it. And he didn't have a bad season last year. 26 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. They just decided to bench him because they didn't want to pay him that money if he got hurt. So I think it's good for him.
Yeah, what are the chances of seeing Pickett play next season? Because people have been treating it like a legit quarterback battle. I didn't think it was until I heard everyone talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, I give him like 5-10%. I mean, Russell would have to regress so much to where he couldn't play. You know what I'm saying? Like, I give him 5 to 10 because he's a proven veteran. I just think Sean Payton, when you have a new coach come in, sometimes when you have an old quarterback, you don't want him as your guy. You have somebody else who you want to be your guy. And I think that's the situation he ended up rolling in. First year when Nathaniel Hackett wasn't good, but I think Payton didn't really want him as his guy. So now he gets to resurrect himself. I think Wilson should win the job. He should. If he can't, then might look at a new career.
And then speaking of quarterback, Justin Fields, what are his options now at this point?
So Atlanta's done. I got a team for you I'm going to throw out there I think is really, really salivating and intriguing. But I don't know if they're going to do it. So the team that is the Raiders, right? He just fits the culture, I think. Got, Antonio Pierce coming in. But the thing is, they just gave Gardner Minshew 2 years, almost $30 million. So that's a lot to pay a backup, So I don't know if they're going to make that same move twice. But the only reason I say that is because they're going in the right direction. They got a good head coach, I think. I think they're going to be better run going into next year. And they got number one receiver. They got Devontae Adams. They will not have Josh Jacobs, who's on the Packers now, 4 years, $48 million. But they will have, I think, a better system for him to succeed. So I think, for me, I think it's the Raiders. I think it's potentially the Patriots or back with Chicago. I think those are the best bets. And all Chicago would have to do with the number one overall pick, it's going to surprise a lot of folks, whether they're going to do Caleb Williams or not. If you want to see what Justin Fields can do, go get Marvin Harrison Jr. at number one. And let's see.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think the Patriots is an option.
Yeah.
I think going to Las Vegas would be very exciting for him. Oh, man, that's tough.
Because there's not a lot of options.
I thought the Falcons would have been an interesting landing spot.
Yes.
I know a lot of fans felt that way also.
Yes. Being here, think about the aura that would have had.
Yeah, but there's no doubt. I mean, it's he's a quality starter. He's got a good future, but yeah, he has not benefited from some of these moves.
No.
As the quarterbacks get shuffled around. So we will see.
No doubt about it.
Yeah, the Patriots, I think that's a long shot. I tend to say more likely it's going to be the Raiders.
Yeah, that's how I feel. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. But we'll see. They've dipped out a lot of money. Did you see Christian Wilkins got, what was it, 5 years, almost $100 million?
No.
Yeah, that's pretty up there.
That's crazy.
From the Dolphins. Yeah, they've been dealing out some money, man.
Yeah, I saw Marcus Mariota just signed.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Washington.
$10 million to be a backup.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of moves. Obviously, Saquon Barkley.
Let's talk about that one. Yeah, let's talk about that one. So yeah, Saquon, guys, he got picked up by the Philly. What was it? 3 years, $37.5 million, up to $46.25 million, $18 million base salary essentially. Second highest ever for a running back. I think, what's so cool about him is I think he is a generational talent. It's just, can he stay healthy? That's the biggest thing. Can he stay healthy? And he's going into a system, and I brought it up even myself in Philly, where, they got to just be able to use him. He can be used in the backfield. He can be used out on routes. He can be used in the screen game. He's good at pass protecting. It's a lot of ways you can use Saquon. But Philly got to make sure they use the weapons and their assets the best they can. Like, you cannot let a guy like that only get 5-6 touches a game. That's what was wrong with DeAndre Swift. You only give him a couple touches a game. Give Saquon the ball, And then it goes back to what I told you last year. Ego, If you got a Devontae Smith, you have a A.J. Brown, you have a Saquon Barkley, a Dallas Goedert, you're not going to always get 7, 8, 10 catches a game. You're not going to always get those touches. Can you sacrifice for the betterment of the team? That's my biggest question. But I love the move.
Yeah. Oh, it makes him very dangerous. What do you think about what's going on at the running back position with your Bengals?
Yeah, so they traded. First off, I'm happy that I got to see that news instead of a release. I'm glad that he got traded. Shows that he's still a valuable commodity in the league. 27 for 1,000-yard seasons in 7 years. And Joe Mixon, and was a part of our culture rebuild, man. He was a culture guy, captain of our team, meant a lot to our organization. I'm happy he got traded to. I'm not happy to lose him, but I'm happy he got traded to the Texans, and he's going to play with a young, ascending, emerging star quarterback in our league or in the NFL. Um, what I think it is, Craig, I think we are looking for more efficiency. They feel like he wasn't efficient enough with the touches that he got, even though he was over 1,000 yards, 1,400 all-purpose yards. But he was like 3.5 yards per carry. So I think what Cincinnati wants to do is they know they got a situation, right? And we'll talk about T. Higgins too, who requested a trade. They're not going to be able to deal out all this money to running backs. I know some say, well, they only saved $2 million, trading him or whatever, and they still gave Zach Moss $4 million per year. But they want to do running back by committee, Craig. That's essentially what it is. Zach Moss, Chase Brown, maybe get another guy in the draft as well. Blake Corum, Jalen Wright from Tennessee. They wanted to be efficient, and they don't want a bell cow guy anymore, I don't think. I think they want a guy that can give 10, 12, maybe 15 touches at most too, and lean on Joe Burrow, let him run the offense, and passing the ball. That's what I think we've kind of turned into. And when you have all your money, kind of with Joe, now Jamar Chase contract coming up, we'll see what happens with T. Higgins. You got to get cheaper at some spots, and I think they're choosing to get cheap at tight end and running back. So that's what I think the situation is. And Zach Moss showed some flashes last year, even with Jonathan Taylor's situation, that he could be explosive. So how I feel about it, I'm kind of like in the middle. I mean, if it's gonna help us win a ring, I'm with it. Um, yeah, that's kind of how I look at it. If it's help us win a ring, I'm with it.
Yeah, I feel like you have to have
It's tough though.
either a change of pace back or run by committee. It's just a bad strategy to rely on one bell cow for the whole season. So
Yeah.
I think it could be beneficial. And yeah, obviously it's worked for the Chiefs.
Yeah, I mean, you guys got Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Isaiah Pacheco, and you guys, I hate to say it, Craig, but I blame you guys. You guys are the model right now. And how you guys have done it, like not playing your receiver or letting Tyreek go, even though he was a big part of you guys, and going cheaper at the wide receiver position, and then going cheaper at the running back position, drafting Pacheco and hitting on it at a seventh round pick. I mean, that's kind of having a little bit of, an influence on the league, I think.
Oh, no doubt it is. And so I think, yeah, it could benefit you guys. And I still think it's a good fit for Joe Mixon at Houston.
Yeah.
And that's a very dangerous team now.
No doubt. Now, what do you think about T. Higgins requesting a trade?
I think
What's your thoughts?
putting him on the franchise tag was obviously strategic with the window they want to try to win in, and I think it will fade away. I think it's a smart move by him, but I think at the end of the day he'll be
play.
back. Yeah.
You think it's kind of like Lamar's situation because he requested a trade too?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we're gonna figure out what we're gonna do. I want to ask you one more, Craig. And now I just want you to put your GM cap on. If you're or a GM, let's say you're with the Chiefs or Bengals, whichever you want to choose. Let's say you're in the situation the Bengals are in. You got to pay two high-end receivers that are really good. One is probably going to be a future Hall of Famer, potentially stays healthy. One is a very high-end, could be a number one receiver. Do you allocate that money to that position, probably like close to 25-30% of your cap? Or do you just sign one guy and try to use other guys coming up with a deep wide receiver class in the draft coming up this year and try to replace wide receiver 2? What would you do?
I think with T. Higgins, it is about the window they feel like they can try to win. There is value for him. They could trade him and try to build that way, but I would keep him on that franchise tag because I'm trying to win it next year.
Mm.
And it's not ideal for him. He wants to get paid.
Right.
But if you want a window, those are your two receivers.
Yep.
Get it done this year and then move on.
Now, let me ask this. You talked about window. Would you trade him to go get another potential weapon on your offense? Let's say with the Tennessee. So Bengals got the 18th pick and I think the 39th pick or something. Would you trade T, try to move up in the draft to number 7, maybe get a Brock Bowers?
Ooh.
Yeah. do you think about
That would be it's a
That's what I
pretty
said.
smart move.
Yeah, that's kind of what I said.
But do you 100% guarantee that you're going to get Brock? That's the other thing. It's like, what
Yeah,
if
that's
there's a
the
little early?
thing. Yeah, I mean, he is. I mean, does he make? I think he can make it to 7
Yeah,
because you
that's
only
just
have
a gamble.
three,
I
four
don't like
quarterbacks.
doing that
Yeah, I feel
because
that.
then you could come out completely empty. If you're
That's
just
true.
focused all on one guy and
Right. Unless what they do is, let's say the Titans are on the clock. I low key
okay,
think it can happen. Let's say the Titans are on the clock. They're about to go with the 7th pick, and then doom 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 doom. We see the little sound, the draft sound, and then boom, Titans are trading the draft pick to the Bengals. They get T Higgins. That would be kind of crazy.
and you would like that.
I wouldn't mind it. Obviously, like I want to keep T. I want to go win with TT is why we are who we are. But at the same time, I'm thinking like future, like, okay, go grab T. I mean, go grab Brock at 7, right? Lose that pick. Go get because you drafted T in the second round. Go get another receiver in the second round.
Yeah, that would be a very interesting move.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow and Brock together.
That'd be nasty work.
That would definitely rival the Mahomes Kelsey.
Yeah,
No
that would
doubt.
be kind of crazy. No
Wow.
doubt about it.
Yeah, that's an interesting move. I think you're right though. Doing it on draft day where you know you're gonna get the guy, I think that is the smartest one.
No doubt about it.
Yep.
Yep. So those are the major moves. What else do you see, Craig? I mean, so many moves. Like
Chris
that was just
Jones,
one.
I'm happy about that one. I know we paid him so much money, but I'm telling you, I think that interior line position, if you don't have it, you're in
Look at
trouble.
us.
It doesn't matter how good your secondary is. You have to have a run stopper.
Yes.
You have to have that disruptive guy that every team that's won the Super Bowl these last several years, it has come down to a guy making the play on the defensive line. And I mean, he can do it every single time. And I think he's so good with all his different moves. It's not necessarily speed with him. He's just a smart player, and he's just been so clutch. So I have no problem with paying him. I think he's the most valuable piece of that defense.
No doubt about it. He's been instrumental in you guys two-peating so far. So I mean, he is very elite, man. Good move.
Yep, and yeah, the free agency's been absolutely nuts.
Always is.
I don't remember it this much. But yeah, I just want to see where Justin Fields is going to end up.
Should biggest one.
Yeah, for sure. Because it's been a conversation for a long time about his future in Chicago, trying to put pieces around him. I think you're right about putting Marvin Harrison Jr. there.
I mean, just see what you got. I mean, if you don't, I think he's on. I don't know if they picked up his 5th-year option, but they haven't even given him a big extension yet. Ride out one more year, see what happens. You're still gonna have some pretty good quarterbacks in next year's draft too. So I would ride out 1 year. Let's see what he can do with Marvin Harrison Jr. And they saying he's a generational talent. So I think my biggest question for you, right, for today is what happens with Justin Jefferson? Because he was not happy towards the end of the year. He doesn't have his guy anymore, Kirk Cousins. Another move you could see too, them trade for potentially another receiver. I think that is really intriguing to see what happens with him because he wants to win. I mean, there's a lot of places he could potentially go. But I think because he's the best receiver I think in the game right now. But that's my interesting. What happens with Justin Jefferson?
How much time is left on his contract?
He is in the same situation that I think T is in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if he gets a contract, it's obviously the best in the league right now. So it'd be astronomical. He doesn't have a quarterback right now.
Nope. They just got they got Sam Darnold, Nick Mullins, and then they got another guy.
Yeah, so he's in a tough spot.
Yeah, he is. That just looks like a rebuild to me.
Yeah,
you don't have Dalvin Cook anymore, right? You lost Kirk, who was probably your franchise quarterback. I mean, and now you're stuck there. Yeah, I would be like, let me go somewhere else.
Yeah, especially look at the division. You got an ascending Lions team.
Packers
are on the move. So yeah, the Vikings are in a tough spot for sure.
No doubt.
But yeah, if they trade him, I mean, they can get obviously as much as you could possibly get.
Yes, they could. And then my question to you, Craig, do you think the running backs, do you feel better for them after kind of the first 1.5 days? Like Derrick Henry getting his $20 million potentially, Saquon Barkley getting his money. Austin Eckler now with the Commanders. Josh Jacobs with the Packers, 4 years, 48 million. Are you happy? Do you think they're getting good value? The running backs are.
I think Derek's was a little low, but other than that, I think it's fair. It's well known you're going to have the depreciating value as a running back, but if you're going into situations where you're sharing the load, that can maybe add a year or two to your career. So I think it does benefit them. Just go to a smart spot.
Makes sense to me. And then my last thing, I think too for the running backs, like obviously go to spot, go get your money, man. Like whatever spot is paying you more, if it's a division rival. I know Tiki Barber called out Saquon Barkley for going to a division rival, but at the end of the day, man, they pay him the money he wanted to get. Like you said, Craig, your career is not long, man. You got at most maybe a 5-6 year career. If you going past that, like Derrick Henry, 9 years, you're doing something right. Go get your money, man, as much as you can get from another team. It is what it is. Other situations are different for other positions, but running back, I say, man, go get as much money as you can.
Yeah, I mean, you got that first 4 years to land a big contract, and then that's it.
Yeah.
Very rarely are you going to get more than that. So if you're going to a spot where you can maybe team up with a young guy, have two veterans working together, it's just a lot different. It's crazy to think that some of the like Falcons offenses with like work done and TJ Duckett, that was like the first
Michael
time
Turner.
we saw like tandem backs. I mean, that position used to just be you're LaDainian Tomlinson, you're going to be the guy every single game. That's crazy. So I think it's definitely changed. Running backs can obviously do more than just share the load. They're catching out of the backfield now. So just be smart. And as you said, capitalize on it, get the money. And a lot of these guys, I think, are adaptive enough to find success at their new home.
Excuse me, no doubt about it, man. And then before we wrap, is there any other big free agency signings you wanted to hit on, Craig?
No, that's it for me.
Well, guys, that's all we got for today's show. We hope you guys enjoy it. We'll obviously keep you updated on everything we're doing, and obviously we'll keep you locked on the college programs here in the state, high school as well. Get the latest news on that. Spring schedules are coming out, so we'll have the news on that as well. And then we'll keep updating you with any free agency moves, and we'll have draft coverage too at the end of April, talking about the big moves, guys we're excited to see. We know it's going to be a crazy event as it always is. So we'll have all that locked here, and I think we got 707s here in June.
Yes.
June coming out. So we'll have plenty of football coverage. I'll keep it locked here. That's all we got for today. Another episode Underrated and Overlooked. We'll see you guys next time. Peace.